Hi everyone, your orange pig-in-chief brutalizes innocent protesters here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Backxwash album, God Has Nothing to Do with This, Leave Him Out of It. Backxwash is a Montreal rapper and producer. This, I believe, is her second full-length album. Full disclosure, I don't know Backxwash, I'm not friends with Backxwash. However, Backxwash has been sending me her stuff for quite some time now on that respectable independent musician grind, just casually making me aware of whenever something new might have come out. While this is the first time I'm formally reviewing Backxwash's music in a video like this, I did hear potential in that early stuff. And now it's encouraging to hear Backxwash finally capitalizing on that potential with an increasingly good output and a small cult following. It's been interesting to hear her evolve from vaguely punky, lo-fi, edgy noise rap to genuinely harrowing, tortured rap witchery. Not to downplay the quality of projects like Deviancy or Black Sailor Moon or Freaks. I encourage anyone watching this video who is new to Backxwash after listening to this, of course, to go back and listen to some of the old stuff. But I think God Has Nothing to Do with This is that exciting moment in a burgeoning artist's career where they find their path. So this thing is a short 22 minutes and 10 tracks, but it still packs a pretty heavy punch. It is a chilling and menacing mix of horrorcore, industrial hip-hop, goth, punk, and noise. The title track, the intro to this record, comes through with this heavy spine-tingling bass, lurching rhythms, and a very prominent sample of that classic clip of Ozzy Osbourne on the Black Sabbath track Black Sabbath, where he's screaming, "Oh God, no, no, please help me!" Over which Backxwash spits a bloody verse of vengeance, pumped up on pills, wanting war, in the morgue. It's pretty unsettling. Things smooth out a bit on subsequent tracks where Backxwash is delivering stronger hooks and grooves, but still maintains a hair-raising tone in the music. We have the track Black Magic, whose eerie, wailing tones, muddy bass, as well as delayed pianos sound like something out of a classic 70s horror movie soundtrack. These subtle passages are a nice contrast to the explosive choruses and refrains of "I fuck with black magic, yeah! Yeah!" Very Death Grips in a way, I suppose. We also have the verses which depict Backxwash turning to the dark side, which seems onset by the death of a relative. The grief of that driving her to a place of depression, isolation, also depicting herself as being eaten out by demons. I love the metal guitars on this track too, which I believe are brought to the table by Ada Rook of Black Dresses fame. The increasingly thick production as well they're both fantastic. Add a lot of character to the song. And speaking of Black Dresses, Debbie McCallion has a feature on the following track, Spells, the intro of which is colored by these spooky, stuttering lead melodies, and also it sounds like howling wolves. Very Creatures of the Night type of vibe to this one. Debbie delivers this demented but very low-key refrain that is definitely makes my skin crawl. Perfectly fits the tone of the track, I would say. Then Backxwash's thick brick of a verse continues this sadistic seance of hedonistic incantations that have been just running up until this point. We have an interesting flow and delivery switch up on Black Sheep. There is something about the tone of Backxwash's voice on this one that reminds me of very early, old school, very edgy Eminem. Not saying Backxwash is like a lyrical miracle on this track or anything like that. If you care about Eminem's early works for its aesthetic and its attitude and its style, you will hear the creative connection on this one. Now, I will say structurally, this is not one of the stronger songs on the project, but still, I like the vibe, and I do enjoy the very unique samples painting the background of the song too. By comparison, the song Into the Void is much more devastating. In a way, it does remind me of some Money Store or No Love Deep Web era Death Grips, but with some clearer occult connections and obviously a black magic aura surrounding it. The lyrics deal pretty heavily in paranoia, wondering if someone will come at her or attack her because of how she looks, what she represents, how she dresses. This fear of persecution and anxiety feels very real on this track and pushes Backxwash into a void of some sort, which is depicted sonically in the production in a very creative way with this enveloping wall of industrial noise and bass, some delayed vocals and trap beats too. It's just so frickin' killer and hair-raising. The track Adolescence is short, it is very calm, but it feels like a continuing narrative from the previous track, like a calm after the storm, where Backxwash is calling, she is seeking out help, wondering if she should seek out therapy, wanting to be a more dependable member of her family. At this point, the record feels almost like a narrative, not in the really direct sense that, oh, this happened, and then this happened after that, but there is still a progression to the varying intensities of fear and anger that she feels throughout this track list. From this, we get the murderous and explosive Amen, where she is going off on pastors and preachers who are living lavish lifestyles, essentially leeching off of poor parishes to enrich themselves. For added effect, her yells, her screams are doubled up and manipulated to have this demonic effect. Then the verses sound like the mad ravings of a murderous lunatic, but still come off pretty cogent and have a solid flow to them too. The closing track, Redemption, is also a pretty powerful moment on the project, where Backxwash is essentially explaining and going through her identity as a trans woman. Now, this does not fit into the themes of the record so far in a super direct sense. However, it all does come together when you take this into context with the anger, the anxiety, the themes of religious persecution and conservatism that are dealt with on previous tracks. Then it makes sense. Through her lyrics, Backxwash explains the pain and the weight and the tensions that come along with coming out and deciding to live as her true self, which can be a difficult attitude for people to adopt given each individual circumstances, but it's still a powerful statement nonetheless, and hopefully at the end of the day gives more people more incentive to feel comfortable with what society tells them is wrong about them. Overall, loved this project. I think it's Backxwash's best so far, and hopefully a turning point in an increasingly good discography. Sure, it is a little scant, and I do think there are ways that the themes of this record could have been more robustly explored, maybe more verses, maybe more song topics. Occasionally the production is a little rickety, and while none of the interludes really ruined my listening experience, I do wish there were more songs on the record to balance out those interludes. But despite there being aspects of the record I wanted more from, I do feel like this is a good point to highlight what Backxwash is doing and show just how special it is. Feeling a decent 8 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Backxwash, forever.